Fantasy Philosophers is brought to you by fantasy-info.com.
DeAngelo Williams has truly been one of the more interesting fantasy running backs of the past 3 or 4 seasons, as in his first couple of years with the Panthers, John Fox wouldn't allow him to get on the field over Deshaun Foster because of veteran loyalties that Fox seems to have. And, then again, when Deshaun Foster left the team, they go out, they draft Jonathan Stewart in the first round. You're thinking, okay, well, even though we did see DeAngelo show some positive signs before that offseason when he did get opportunities against teams maybe like the Eagles and I believe even the Cardinals in that one particular season, they go out, they get Jonathan Stewart as one of the top running backs in the draft that year. So you're thinking, well, maybe it's just going to pass DeAngelo by. Maybe he's just the number 2 guy or something like that. But no, John continued to stay loyal to his veteran over his rookie. He gave DeAngelo the opportunity to start. We saw him break out big in preseason, and he took that. He had up and down. First maybe 5 games of the year in 2008, totally broke out, put up 20 total touchdowns, 5.5 yard per carry average, over 1,500 yards and under 300 carries. It was just a ridiculous season that he put out. Took a lot of fantasy owners to championships, was just the do-it-all kid. And for a lot of people and a lot of fantasy sites, he was the MVP of fantasy that particular season in 2008 because of the charge that he put together, the explosion that he had. Even though he wasn't a guy that got necessarily a lot of receptions and all that, he was just so dominant that you just couldn't deny what he was doing. Coming into last offseason, coming into fantasy drafts, it's like, okay, so we've seen this guy, maybe disappoint as being a first-round pick. Maybe he wasn't getting those opportunities. We thought, okay, Jonathan Stewart, what's going on there? Even Jonathan had a good year that year, in 2008 as well. He had, 10 touchdowns and so on as a backup to DeAngelo. Okay, so we know he's got a good, really good, talented physical running back behind him. He puts up the 20 touchdowns. What the heck is this guy going to do for an encore, and where do we rank him? Because if it was just on his stats alone, heck, he probably could have been the number 1 pick last year over a guy like Adrian Peterson, who only had 10 touchdowns coming in, from the 2008 season. As it turns out, yes, he did have a major drop in his touchdown totals. He went from 20 all the way down to about 7. Getting injured, he lost 3 games on the season due to injury, so that was also a concern for DeAngelo. Still did have a 5.2 yard per carry average when he was out there, and he did show and flash definite, game-breaking ability when he was on the field. It would be easy to probably guess that, if he would have stayed healthy through the 16 games, he would have been in double-digit touchdowns. And I'm going to give him the nod that he can stay healthy, as he's been a pretty healthy player throughout most of his career so far. So I'm going to say this season he can stay healthy for the 16 games. Remember, next year he's projected to be probably either a free agent or he's going to be on the move, probably shopped to another team. It looks like here they're going to probably go with Jonathan Stewart as the main guy, unless Stewart, he's had health injury concerns. If he did get some major injury, that would probably change things. DeAngelo will be the starting running back over there because of, again, John Fox's loyalties, and he should be. He's earned that right. I would say, right now we've got DeAngelo as around the 7th best fantasy back for you to take this season. I usually cringe at guys that are in a situation like he is in because he does have a guy like Jonathan Stewart behind him, and that Jonathan is going to put up his production, and there's going to be games where maybe you really need your stud running back to make that touchdown, and all of a sudden you look on the board and it's like touchdown running. Oh, it's Jonathan Stewart. It's not DeAngelo Williams, and that just rips your heart out. You just have to be patient and know that DeAngelo will get his numbers. And we just don't know if one day it may be Jonathan. In certain games, it could be Jonathan that has the bigger day. If you're willing to live with that, then DeAngelo is a good fit for you. It's obviously going to be hard to get. A lot of times in a situation like this, you'd like to have the handcuff option there. I think that Jonathan, as far as a handcuff option, though, gosh, he could go in the first 5-6 rounds of a draft just because of his talent. And that reminds me a lot of the final season between Priest Holmes and Larry Johnson, when Johnson was highly expected to at some point take over Priest, and he was a highly coveted, handcuff player. So just keep that in mind when you're looking for DeAngelo. World of talent. Next year he'll probably be on a team where he's not in this big of a situation, but with the team that he's on, the passing game that they have with Matt Moore. At least he's going to be respectable there. They should be pretty good.
For more fantasy football information, go to fantasy-info.com and sign up for our free e-newsletter. Good luck in your 2010 Fantasy Football League. As an added bonus, the Fantasy Info guys will include their 5 secret tips for success in fantasy football.